Hello everyone and welcome to the official patch notes for Wild Rift patch 6.2c. Apologies that I've done pretty much no videos or no streaming as of recently. I've actually been preparing a lot for the Esports World Cup, which I'll be actually flying tomorrow in this time when I'm recording. But when you'll see this, I'll already be at the Esports World Cup. Bit of a weird timing. I wanted to make sure that I release this video and release the patch notes and my rundown before I go away and before I go on my flight tomorrow. Luckily, Riot sent them out in time, and luckily they were ready in time. I was a little bit worried that they won't be ready in time, but luckily Riot have been pretty flawless with making sure that they give me the patch notes when I need them so I can record stuff before I go away. But yeah, there won't be any videos for pretty much the rest of this week. I will be back to streaming next week when I arrive back from the Esports World Cup. So yeah, just wanted to say before we enter this, apologies for no videos or no content. You know, some of you might know that I've also had family issues as well, which I've had to deal with. So yeah, pretty much everything has happened at once, which is what life always hits you with sometimes. But anyway, enough of my personal stuff. Let's get into what really you came to this video for, which is about the patch notes. So champion changes. First, we have Nasus. Nasus getting a little small buff to his first ability, where he now gets more stacks when he defeats champions, large monsters, large minions. That's pretty much it. You don't get any more stacks when you kill normal minions. This is just on champions, large minions, large monsters. I don't think this will do too much. You get an extra 4 stacks, which is nice. So you get an extra 4 stacks pretty much per wave. But that's all you're pretty much going to get. You're never going to kill champions in the early game. You're never really going to kill monsters unless you're going to play jungle. You could play jungle Nasus if you really want to. I highly doubt it. But yeah, just an extra 4 stacks per minion wave. So not really going to do too much to Nasus. The problem is Nasus takes too long to stack. Also, there's just so many items that counter Nasus at the moment and basically make enemies unkillable. Bloodthirster, for example. So it makes it really difficult for Nasus to dive on top of these champions at the moment and deal enough damage. Senna is having a real big identity crisis at the moment, where she basically doesn't have a rune. She doesn't have a good enough build. At the moment, you build Senna just full utility with Iceborne Gauntlet, Serpent's Fang, Mortal Reminder for the anti-heal. That's pretty much all you go for, and then you just pray that your team can do enough damage and you do enough damage as well at the same time. But she is getting quite a nice buff, I must admit, to AD, an extra 30 HP in the early games. This is going to help her out a lot in the early game. And her passive, she now gains an extra 0.25 extra attack damage per mist that you're able to stack. So if you get 4 stacks, you get an extra 1 AD. So you get wow, I was about to misinterpret the calculations there. You get 5 stacks instead of 4. So of course, if you're scaling and if you're getting a lot of stacks over time, then it's going to add up to quite a bit of extra attack damage. Of course, on top of your base attack damage as well, which is quite nice. I do prefer playing Senna as more of a carry version of her. I think the problem is when you're playing this utility Senna, you're not doing enough damage anyway. You're there to just provide crowd control, provide the anti-heal, provide the anti-shield, and just hope and pray that it's enough. But unfortunately, she just doesn't do that at the moment. We'll have to wait and see. Jayce, one of the worst performing champions at the moment, honestly has been for a long time. I've mentioned this quite a lot in like my tier list and everything else, but Jayce has been very much underperforming at the moment, so no surprise that he is getting a buff. Base AD going up by 4. The problem is that Jayce does basically no early game damage as well. So Jayce is supposed to be this early game bully that has 6 abilities to his disposal. He can jump in, he can poke, he can do a bunch of damage, but at the moment he doesn't. So this is a really nice buff. Bonus damage through the acceleration gate of Shot Blast going up by 5%. Interesting enough, they're buffing the damage to monsters on both parts of the melee version and the range version of the first ability. Jayce jungle used to be a thing, I would say about a year ago now, when Jayce in general was just very powerful. So this might bring Jayce jungle back. You have to probably test out his jungle clear speed to see if his clear speed is going to be high enough to see if you can still clear through the jungle pretty quickly. And his lightning field, his second ability, is also going up in terms of damage, going up by 20 every single rank. Pretty nice for Jayce. I think this will definitely help him a lot during the early game. His poke will also help him out a lot in the late game as well. I just feel like at the moment, a very big problem right now, just with AD assassins in general, the items are not really strong right now. You know, crit items are much stronger. You're seeing a lot of assassins like Viego. Well, you can call Viego an assassin. Viego and Rengar building crit instead of AD assassin items because they're just so much stronger right now. And that's one of the reasons why champions like Jace and Kha'Zix, you'll see a little bit later on, also got another buff this patch. These champions, these AD assassin champions that build the likes of Edge of Night, Ghostblade, Serpent's Fang, Seralda's Grudge, items like that are just not performing right now because you're either playing against tanks which are going full armor and just being completely unkillable, bruisers which are unkillable with death stance, or AD carries that are just building bloodthirster so you can't actually kill them as an assassin. So yeah, no surprise that Jace is getting a buff. Vi buff is very interesting. I know she does have a pretty low win rate right now in China. The thing is with Vi is that she's one of the easiest champions to play, and her lockdown on her ultimate is one of the best ultimates I still think in the game. Cease and desist, I think this going down by 10 seconds in the early game is a huge buff to Vi. I think it means you can gank a lot more often, you can make plays a lot more often. The charge time as well, also on the third ability, going down in the early game, which means it's going to help you just deal with a bit more damage and help you clear through the jungle a lot quicker. Vi, I don't think really needed buffs. I don't think the win rates really showcase the power that she can provide to a team, with obviously her lockdown, with how much damage that she can deal with, so many items that she can still build as well, which are very, very powerful. Kha'Zix, even after the buff in the last patch, still getting another buff in this patch as well. Again, like I said, I don't think it's really to do with the champions right now. I think it's really to do with the AD assassin items, and I think just the other items being so much stronger right now. So that's why these champions are really, really struggling. Kha'Zix base AD going up by 4, the cooldown of the first ability going down by 0.5 every single rank, and the base damage going up by 10 as well. I think Kha'Zix is going to be a very scary champion next patch. Very, very scary. Base AD in the early game. He also got base armor, I believe, in the previous patch as well, which is absolutely huge. His first ability also got buffed in the previous patch, so his first ability just gets buffed again, which is absolutely insane. So yeah, Kha'Zix definitely gonna be in a very scary spot in terms of jungling. Kalista, this buff should have came in a long time ago. For those who don't remember, there was a buff that happened to Kalista a while ago where it said that the base AD was going to get increased. The base AD didn't get increased, and guess what? Kalista is now sitting at a 43 or 42% win rate, the lowest win rate out of any champion in the game. And Kalista's by far the worst champion in the game. If you pick this champion, you basically already lost just by picking the champion. I still don't know why they pulled back the base AD. They're still not buffing her base AD, by the way. They're buffing her AD per level instead by 0.5 every single time instead of the base AD, which I think is pretty shocking. The Ren damage, though, is going up by quite a bit, especially at maximum rank now. You get a whopping 8 more Ren damage per stack as well. This is damage per stack, which is also pretty big. So when you're maxing your third ability and max rank there, you can see that you can do quite a lot of damage now with your Rend, and also you have your you have your scaling with your attack damage as well. You'll see a bit later on that some crit items are getting nerfed, and obviously with Kalista building on hit items, it might bring her back into the meta. We'll have to wait and see. I don't think it's really going to do too much, to be honest with you. I think this Rend damage is going to be pretty insane, but the early game is still pretty weak. Like, I just don't think the early game is going to do enough. The things with Kalista is that Kalista doesn't scale into late game and also doesn't bully in the early game. Just doesn't do anything at the moment. So I think this is going to help more of the scaling side of things, but you still need to bully in the early game, and hopefully this is enough to do enough damage in the early game. We'll have to wait and see. So base stats, on Jinx, with the attack damage per level going up and the attack speed per level going up. So just a little bit more base stats for Jinx. I think she's in a pretty okay spot. I think she just relies too much at the moment on enchanter supports. You can't play Jinx with tank supports because she relies so much on shielding and protecting, because she doesn't have really a lot of mobility. Twitch as well, again, same with Kalista, been very underperforming at the moment. These buffs, though, are pretty damn big, I have to admit. The AD per level is going up by 1 every single level instead of 0.5, which is a pretty huge buff. The mana cost is getting cut pretty hard on the third ability, so you can actually use this more often now during the laning phase, which I think is really nice. They will help you a bit with poke and damage. And speaking of damage, look at this bonus damage now. It's going from 30% bonus attack damage to now 42% bonus attack damage. They're making sure they don't increase the ability power, And one of the reasons why, that if people remember, for those who played Wild Rift for quite a long time, would remember that AP Twitch jungle was one of the strongest picks for quite a long time. So they actually nerfed like quite a lot of the AP numbers. But this AD number is absolutely huge. And on top of that, Spray and Pray is also going down the early game by 10 seconds, then the mid game by 5 seconds. And the bonus attack damage that you receive is going up by 10 at every single rank. So I think these are finally changes that I feel pretty comfortable with Twitch. I think at the moment you can actually build in with some pretty unique items. The new item, you can build it with his ultimate, because his ultimate actually increases the range of his clones, so you'll be able to increase the range and deal more damage. You can still build like Runa's Hurricane is also very good for the splash damage with your passive. You also have Bloodthirst that you can still build. I saw a really cool interaction where you can go Titanic Hydra with the ultimate as well, so that's a pretty weird and interesting interaction that I might have to give a try. But yeah, really glad that Twitch is getting buffed, because we don't see Twitch at all. Twitch and Kalista we just don't see at all in the meta, so pretty glad that they're finally hitting the right stuff with the buffs. Ambessa, these nerfs might actually hit Ambessa quite a bit. Base damage going down by 4. You have the passive damage going down as well. It's going down by quite a lot, by the way. It's going from 14 to 49 to now 5 to 40. So your base damage is going to be doing nowhere near enough damage really in the jungle and also in the top lane. And her base AD going down by 4 as well is pretty huge. And her first ability is going up by 2 seconds at every single rank. I think these are finally going to be the changes that are going to bring Ambessa back down to planet Earth. Even after the nerfs before, I did predict that Ambessa was still going to be one of the strongest junglers. And that still is true as well. Ambessa is still one of the strongest junglers out there. So nerfing her again is no surprise. I think these nerfs are pretty big, especially the base AD and also the passive damage is going to be hit her really hard in terms of the early jungle clear. Kayle nerfs, I just don't think this champion needs nerfs, to be honest with you. I think the win rate of Kayle in China is just so fake. I really don't think this champion is actually that good, and I don't think she really warranted any nerfs. They're building actually AD Kayle at the moment instead of AP Kayle. You'll see here with the third ability, like the passive bonus damage, they're not changing the AP ratio, they actually changed the bonus attack damage ratio, because they're building items like Bloodthirster, like Magnetic Blaster, the new item as well. Like they're building all of these items. The AD Kayle is actually stronger, again, because crit items are so powerful. AD Kayle is actually stronger than AP Kayle. So base AD going down, AD per level also going down as well. So they're hitting her with nerfs, but I just don't think, I think the reason why she's doing so well in terms of win rate in China is because I feel like junglers in China just don't punish Kayle players at all. Like that has to be the case, because as a jungler you can just clear through the jungle, you can clear towards your top side of the map, you'll get level 5, the Kayle will be level 3. It's the easiest tower dive in existence. That's all you need to do against a Kayle. If the Kayle's mid lane, you can just path bottom to top, top to bottom, it doesn't matter. And then as soon as you get to level 5, get the mid lane tower, dive the mid lane tower as well, because Kayle is one of the easiest champions to dive. Like a melee champion with basically no HP, no defensive tools really at all. So I really feel like that's one of the reasons why Kayle has such a high win rate. And like I said, I just don't think she needed a nerf, but here we are. We're in 2025 and Kayle's getting nerfed. Pretty crazy. And last champion change is to Corki. No surprise that they're nerfing the true damage on the passive, both the basic attacks and the Spellblade passive, dealing 20% bonus true damage was pretty disgusting. That's now gone down to 16% bonus true damage. I still think this will be very, very powerful, and I still think Corki will be very strong. The same with the bonus damage on the first ability as well, the bonus attack damage going down by 10%. I think Corki will still be a completely fine champion to play. I think with Essence Reaver, he's very powerful at the moment. Magnetic Blaster as well. I think there's so many items which he synergizes really well with right now, and the true damage is definitely going to hurt a little bit, but he's still going to be able to do a lot more damage. And also he's a very safe AD carry to play as well, thanks to his second ability. Onto items. Hullbreaker, basically no one really builds this item, to be fair. There's like a few champions that can maybe build this item, but outside of that, it's just never really built at all. People get baited by building this on Sion when it's not even good on Sion, and it still won't be good on Sion, but people still build it and people will still get baited because they have nostalgia with how strong and how OP Hullbreaker was with Sion before, but the item is now completely different. But anyway, the AD is going up. I think the problem with this item as well is that you are so squishy. You get a lot of AD, which is nice, like 50 AD is a lot, but you are super squishy as a top laner. If you're not building items like Death Stance or anything like that, then you're just going to get one shot as a top laner, especially even if you're split pushing as well. But AD going up by 5, the movement speed going up by 1%, and now it's every 4th attack deals bonus damage instead of every 5th attack. This will be on champions and also on towers. Again, this is really only good on champions that like to auto attack. Champions like Urgot, Set, Irelia, and Fiora are ones to really consider. You can give it a try again. I still don't think it'll be very good. I just think a lot of items are much stronger to build right now. Like I said, like Yordle's Death Stance, which is probably one of the strongest bruiser items in the game right now. And then they're doing a slight change to Tear of the Goddess items, to Manamune, Archangel Staff, and Winter's Approach. They're basically making it now so you can trigger Tear of the Goddess 3 times every 10 seconds instead of every 12 seconds. This actually benefits a lot of champions that like to spam your abilities, and this actually makes it like a lot more beneficial now to spam abilities as you're walking out of base. I don't see people do this enough on champions like Ezreal, for example. When you go back and when you build Tear of the Goddess, they just walk back to lane and they're just completely AFK. They don't do anything at all. But as you're walking back to base, you're supposed to be using your abilities like your Mystic Shot, like your third ability to help you get back to lane quicker, but also to help you stack up tier a lot quicker as well. And now you can trigger it 3 times every 10 seconds instead of every 12 seconds. It incentivizes you more to spam abilities when you're coming out of lane, because you can spam your first ability and then after 10 seconds you can spam your first ability 3 times again. So it's quite nice. I mean, Ezreal in general right now is pretty weak, I would say, just again because crit items are very powerful, and Ezreal doesn't build any of the crit items at the moment. He still goes for the old build, which is much stronger. But yeah, I think this is a nice change that will definitely help Tear of the Goddess users. Other champions with Tear of the Goddess as well, champions like Kassadin, which would be quite nice. You also gain more maximum mana now when you increase when mana is spent on Manamune, on Archangel Staff, and also Winter's Approach, which is, sorry, not Winter's Approach. Winter's Approach still has the trigger every 10 seconds. But on Manamune and on Archangel Staff, the maximum mana increase when mana is spent has gone up from 15 up to 18, which again is really nice. Again, it incentivizes you to complete Manamune and make sure you complete Manamune before you build any other item. I still see people building tier and then going into Trinity Force. This is not PC League of Legends, buddy. You don't do that here. You just buy tier and you just go straight into Manamune. You go straight into Archangel Staff as well. This is also going to benefit Orianna is another champion that likes to build Archangel Staff. It's not really any other champions that I can think of off the top of my head. Maybe Jace, this could benefit a little bit. But a lot of champions, like a lot of mid lane mages at the moment, a lot of AD carries, just skip Manamune or never build Manamune. Same with even junglers as well. Assassin junglers tried to build Manamune for quite some time, but now with Yordle Death Stance being added to the game, the item is just not that strong right now. So nice little buff to Tear of the Goddess items to make it a little bit more powerful. And yeah, Winter's Approach, it just has the trigger. It doesn't have the extra mana increase when you're using it. But this item is the worst item in the game right now, so I'm surprised they didn't do any more buffs to this item. Yordle Sunfire Aegis, they're actually adjusting the item ever so slightly. They're reducing the maximum health by 75, but now giving it 20 armor. So the increased the build path has also changed. Now it's a ruby crystal instead of kindle gem, and now you have to build a cloth armor instead of a ruby crystal. I think in general Yordle's Sunfire was really powerful. I think that it was good against any champions. It was good against AP champions. It was good against AD champions, just because it provided a lot of damage in general. Now this is going to be like, oh, if you're against AD champions, it makes you want to build Yordle's Sunfire Aegis more. It's really weird now because this item is kind of very similar to Searing Crown. There's like no difference really between this item and Searing Crown. To be honest, this item just might be better than Searing Crown now in terms of damage. I think it depends if the champion has damage over time, like a Mumu, for example, or if they're just champions that wants to be in melee range a lot, like Nunu, for example. Nunu probably prefers to build Yordle Sunfire Aegis over Searing Crown now, but Mumu probably still like Searing Crown because you have so much damage over time. But in general, this item will probably be better. But I don't really like this because, like I said, you're pretty much getting the same stats. I can't remember Searing Crown stats off the top of my head, but you're pretty much getting the same stats as Searing Crown now with HP and armor, but then it's just the passive that's different. Really weird change, but yeah, we can deal with it. And hey, I called it. Sometimes I feel like Riot actually watch my videos because I called this change a mile away. I said before, Bloodthirster, I said the item is still going to be good. It's still going to be a first buy item, which to be honest, I still think this item is going to be a first buy item because the problem is there's no other competition at the moment. You've only got items like Collector, which Jhin and Samira buy, or like on-hit items that some on-hit champions build instead. In terms of a first item for AD carries, there is not a lot of different alternatives that you can build right now outside of Bloodthirster. But the problem is Bloodthirster is also very powerful on champions like Yone, Rengar, Graves, you know, all these other champions as well. So you have to make sure that you actually nerf this item to nerf some of the other champions as well, not just the AD carries. But this will still be a core item on AD carries, don't you worry. But I did say the problem with Bloodthirster is how much armor magic resist that this passive gains and how much shielding that passive gain as well. I don't think it was too much in terms of AD. You have to remember, this item lost like 20 to 30 AD from the previous version to now this version because you don't get the 20 extra AD now from the old passive. But the new Lifeline passive is so much stronger because when you proc it, you gain 20 armor and 20 magic resist, which you had so much more survivability with this item. And I called this a million miles away. I said that this item, the survivability, was just way too powerful. They need to nerf the armor. They need to nerf the magic resist. If you go back to my previous patch notes rundown, that's exactly what I said. They're also increasing the gold as well by 100, which is pretty damn annoying, to be fair. It's now a pretty expensive item. You know, 3,100 is a very expensive first item now to buy. Very, very expensive. That's nearly going as high as like Terminus first item, which is 3,300. And with how much AD and now the armor magic resist going down as well, I predict that this item will still be a first build on pretty much all AD carries because, like I said, there's no other alternatives unless you're playing someone like Jhin or Samira that you can go collect the first item. But outside of that, I think Bloodthirster is still going to be very powerful. But I do like the change. I do like the Lifeline passive going down as well. Don't really like it as an AD carry main, but I think this item still needs to get nerfed anyway. And that's going to do it for the patch notes for patch 6.2c. Hopefully you enjoyed the patch rundown. Again, just a reminder, I won't be doing any other content for the rest of the week. I'll be back streaming next Monday, so the next Monday that will be coming up very soon. I fly back on Saturday, obviously be taking Sunday as a rest day, and I'll be back again on Monday. So hopefully videos, streaming, and everything will be back up to date the next Monday coming up, so be sure to keep an eye out for that one. But like I said, I wanted to make sure that I get my patch rundown out there because I know a lot of you enjoy my insight and like my insight into the video. If you got it to the end of this video, comment down below saying awesome. There you go. That's your comment of the video. I think I'm going to do this more often now to see actually who makes it to the end of the video. But yeah, if you made it to the end of the video, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below saying awesome, and I know that you would have watched and sat back and relaxed throughout this whole video. But as always, take care of yourselves, enjoy the rest of the day, and I'll see you in the next wild video. Peace.